We're live.
Awesome. As soon as Nicole comes back, we'll be 2/3 of the way there. 3/4.
Almost.
Good to have you back, man.
I appreciate it. I'm
Hi, Nicole. We're live.
I got the perfume of Texas if you guys are interested. October and you need off. So welcome. Where's TJ? He's not here yet, huh?
He'll be in a minute. He got wrapped up.
All right.
Work apparently
Oh, good.
doesn't schedule around our time.
I know, right? So really
I
quick,
heard something in the background.
Start chatting. So today I was on the FreightWaves, like last mile summit conference that they had. You know, you're live on that. I mean, we're live on this, but that's different, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm all calm. I'm like getting in my groove. I'm sitting there. I'm supposed to get brought on. Dooner yells out like, "Hey, Nicole Glenn's coming up, blah, blah, blah." And then I hear my computer make this noise and I'm like, "Oh, my computer's dying." So I look at my book bag, no charger. And he like had already started the thing. It was going to go live on me. And the pure panic that I felt, I was like, this thing is going to be turn on, and then my computer's going to just shut off. So I ended up, you know, the show must go on and stuff like that. And so I ended up going, skip me. You guys have to skip me, go on to the next group, and had to do it off my cell phone. But holy cow, when you're live on something and it just goes wrong,
I don't feel bad. I didn't get the streaming right for at least 3 episodes, so.
Yeah, right. Well, Tony's been car guy, so it's nice to see you station.
Solid walls.
No one said anything to me because I'm musical station, so I'm out here today. Sometimes I'm at my office. Sometimes I'm it's like wherever. I sat out in the back today, and they're building a deck in our backyard to our neighbors. So I'm like, well, looks like the front. So. But we could start. I know we had some interesting topics today, a little different because normally we walk in here and have a one topic and then people joining us. So this is a little different of a concept, and I wanted to go over it. And there's more topics. I'm hoping that maybe it's some of the audience members throw in there some 2 cents or 2 cents worth. But one of the things that we had thrown out there is expectation of really the remainder of this year, you know? So that's a big one. I'm really looking forward to TJ's insight too, but would love to hear what you guys think. I don't know how it's been for you. I mean, Tony, you've talked over the past couple of weeks on the craziness of capacity, but I got asked the question the other day. I got asked to make a bold statement in regards to what we think is happening. Like, are we in peak right now? Is there more to come with the holidays? I would love to know what you guys have to say, because I think with us being on the different sides of things, you're more truckload, right, Brandon? Is your background?
Yeah. Background is full truckload, you know, in the reefer and in the reefer space. So I can tell you from just my opinion, I don't think we're technically in quote unquote peak season, but that's just an opinion. I mean, obviously there's no way to gauge. I think that obviously the bullwhip effect, and I think that as we continue on into Q4, that I think we'll see, you know, stronger volumes. And my guess is that we're not going to see any type of normalcy, I think, until the beginning of Q2. But I think, again, as we get closer to the holidays, it's going to increase, you know, volume wise, and capacity is going to continue to decrease.
Very nice. I'm with you to some extent. I think there's a wild card in there on November 4th, 6th, whatever. The first Tuesday of November, I think, is going to be a little bit of a wild card. See what happens after that. It's still either way. It's still going to be after the first of the year at some point before it even begins to slow down, in my opinion. But I've talked to customers at a few places that are manufacturers, and they've got orders till August right now already.
Really?
So there's a lot.
What is that?
Manufactured housing.
Okay. So that's basically the just different pieces of a house, and they send
Right.
it, right?
Yep, modular.
Huh.
So there's,
Now,
I think Q1 will be strong, like Brandon. I don't know if it might level out a little bit earlier because of winter.
Mm-hmm. Brandon, what were you going to say?
well, I was going to say, and this is just, and again, we're not going down the politics road at all, but, the election is coming up. Do we think that we're going to see an impact either way, depending on the outcome? Is that going to affect interest rates, which would then decrease, maybe the modular home, build outs or home build outs? I know material right now, even to build a home, the price of lumber and everything is just increased by hundreds of percent. So I'm wondering what that's going to play in, because we're getting close to that time of election as well.
Well, they're covering the freight cost of getting the lumber to the store, probably.
Well, I'm telling you, 2x4, typically, and this is treated, you could get them for, under $10, and they're like $35-$40 for an 8-foot 2x4 that's treated right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy.
The flatbed market, I've seen, that's kind of my forte more than anything, is the flatbed market. And I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever seen it like this. It's insane. In 20 years, it's never been what we're looking at right now,
Mm-hmm.
which is good if you have a truck.
Oh, completely. And I keep hearing people say, I wish I could just go out and buy one right now and start driving myself,
Yeah.
Too bad. It's sad. Need some experience to do that, for sure. For us, it's weird on the expedited side, because, with us being smaller, we're so, it depends from really what our customers are doing. But even this last quarter, the last day, I'm always waiting as an expedited company that it's just going to be through the roof, right? Because you're just thinking that everybody wants to get those last things out, blah, blah, blah. And it really wasn't. So it's so hard to say for me on the expedited side, what I can see and what I think will happen. I did forecast with my CFO, and I do project it to be up for our company, but as a whole, I do see it obviously as an incline too through the rest of this year. And normally, I know this sounds crazy too, normally Q1 as an expedited company for us is always crazy. It's usually one of our best quarters.
But
yeah, it's nuts in Q1 for us, and then it slows down, Q2. But I'm curious to see, I did get asked a question too on, what do you guys really think is the driving force behind this, of everything? I know there's a driver shortage, right? But what's your thoughts on what really drives that?
the driver shortage?
No, I just mean this crazy increase of everything. Like, what do you think?
Well, I play with economics a little bit on the side as a complete and total amateur, but I really believe the trucking market is so fun to watch, because it's literally, you can watch supply and demand happen in real time. And it's literally that simple. All you're doing is you're watching where the freight goes, like that LA, the K ratio thing, that LA to Dallas, just watching where the trucks goes. So the more trucks go to that LA to Dallas lane, the lower the price will be outbound Dallas. We want that, right? So it just kind of has to level out. I'm not sure where that equilibrium is, though.
Yeah.
As far as the driver shortage, I don't think there is one. I think there's a driver pay shortage, and that's why a lot of guys are getting out of driving.
Well, and I agree with everything that you just said. Obviously, we're still playing catch up from COVID, so the volumes. Obviously, that data is out there. I kind of teeter-totter on the driver shortage. You have to remember, before this hit, there were large to mid-sized trucking companies that were going out of business, shutting down. There were even profitable ones. So there was one here in Asheville that had been around for 30 plus years, and he just decided to call it quits because the market was so low. And, he'd been at it for so long with all these restrictions. So while I think there's a driver shortage, I think that there wasn't, ample amount of companies that just couldn't survive when the lowest was at the low. So I think that definitely plays into it, but I'll agree with you, Tony, that there's definitely a driver pay shortage. And, as this new generation, comes up, I mean, it's not a glamorous job. You have to be away from your family. You know, I mean, it's clockwork, and it's, again, we could go down a really, really deep road, but I think that I agree with you. The pay's not the best, and there's a lot of things that you have to give up in life in order to make a good living and provide in the seat of that truck.
Have you guys ever looked at Jason Miller's stuff?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I follow him religiously too. Teal turned me on to him.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
Did you see the one discussion between him and Craig Fuller? I don't remember what it was on. I think it might have been Fuller Speed Ahead, or was another FreightWaves conference where they hosted a summit. And Jason does a different set of analysis than what they're pulling for sonar. So he has different concepts, you know, and different. I think he's pulling from like CAS, which is a lot of the big manufacturers utilize them for freight payment to get that data. But it's just interesting to hear the viewpoints of how we keep thinking everything's incline, and then we see other commodities that are not. You know, they're just sitting still. So it's just interesting to me to think about what happens when some of those other commodities do come back into play, say with this election or who knows what. How would we be able to withstand that? I watched another show the other day where they were talking about what if people started traveling again, right? What if COVID after whatever day just suddenly is like not a concern? I don't know. Again, whatever happens with that. But, and then people just start traveling, business travel, personal travel, and then hotels have to get back in motion, right? And refill all of their supplies that they're missing, and maybe even update hotels and different, like how could we be able to pull through? That's awesome.
Wow.
Oh.
No, don't take that off. The rest of
no, keep it on.
Well,
Let's see if we can hear you through
Freight's
it.
been down. I've been doing kids' birthday parties. I was doing it on the side. I wasn't at the yard. I got to do the side hustle. You know, tell Chris Jolly. Is there something on my nose?
Oh, I love it.
Last year, I found this at Meijer.
We hear you. We can
And I
still
showed up to Halloween, and I got a gray hoodie, gray sweatpants, gray gloves, gray slippers, and this. And my kids just went nuts. They didn't know who it was. And until I took it off, and I was the best dad in the world.
I think we just found our new mascot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
That's huge.
Awesome.
Hey, the koala carrier.
Koala tea.
Yeah.
That
That doesn't make sense, Tony.
I got a dad in me.
Dig deeper.
Come on, Tony.
We were just talking about the first concept that we had thrown out today on what we think is going to happen for the remainder of this year. And if we're in peak, and then what's really the driving force behind this just complete tightness. Because I wonder how many people even watching the show or who are in transportation moving freight and so far behind and high rates and all of that don't really understand what's behind the whole concept. You just made everybody leave. You come on and everybody goes.
They're going to get their masks.
Oh, okay.
We didn't tell you. You're the only one that doesn't know.
No, my connection on my end, it looks to be spotty. So I was trying to move to a different spot, but maybe it's just on my end.
What's behind you now?
Oh, that's my.
Is that international?
No, it's a little 2-horse. Well, we call it the goat totes. We tote the little animal. It's just a little trailer. I'm out in my garage, and I was working on the lights. The lights. You know, if you ever worked on trailer lights, they're real fun. So.
That pull
I was trying to move closer to the Wi-Fi because it kept cutting out.
So, hey guys.
So TJ, you came in right at a good spot. We were talking about the peak concept. Are we in peak? Are we still heading towards peak? What do you think that looks like for the remainder of this year?
I think it's going to be, it's not going to be as distinct. It's going to be kind of muddled. I mean, right now you're just dealing with such a problem with capacity, and shippers still pushing as much product as they possibly can, that I think it's going to be a little bit blurred. I think you'll see a difference as soon as Thanksgiving comes around. I think right now you got to look at the fact that a lot of drivers are making money. They're hitting their numbers, and so they pushed all summer. Coming out of COVID, people didn't know when it was going to go down or what it was going to do. And I know guys that just stayed out. And I've got guys now saying, hey man, whether it affected my family or whatever, I got to be home more often. Guys going home for the weekend, taking a couple days here and there. The good part is a lot of them, and I encourage them to, is a lot of them are taking that time to get their truck maintenance, get things fixed now when they need to get them fixed, use their money for that. I've been preaching quite a bit about not being complainers. We're not going to be a complaining fleet. We got owner ops, right? So they're out, trying to make money. It's not company drivers. So, be smart. If you were getting 93 cents a mile and you were talking about how much it costs to run a truck, everyone would talk about how much it costs to run a truck. Know that and say, okay, well, now that I'm getting $6 a mile on certain things, right, I'm going to take $4 a mile of that and put it away. Start becoming a business owner. And it's been something that I've been trying to preach. It's, when I did the restructure in the dispatch, even, when drivers are assigned to a certain dispatcher, they get a lot of love and attention, right? A little bit coddled almost, and they get used to it. And so when we went to the new structure in which nobody's assigned to anybody, but there's somebody in charge of planning and driver management and CSR and appointments and updating the system tracking, they didn't get that as much attention. They were making more money, but they were, we don't get as much attention as we used to, or that, I want to talk to somebody. And so that opened that discussion too of, hey, the only attention a business owner gets in real life is from the IRS. You know what I mean? Like I can't own an Italian restaurant and expect to have some guy come in every day and talk to me about stuff for a half an hour. So it's that push towards being an owner operator, being a owner and not just an operator. So I don't know. I went way off topic there, but the point is that it's going to be a little bit blurred. I think we're going to see a peak season, but I think it's going to get worse because my vision of this is that drivers are going to take this time at the holidays to be home. It's just at that right time, that stretch of 4 months is usually about as long as a driver can really push hard without having to take a break. I think they're using the holidays as their goal to take that break, when usually they'd go out and try to push a little bit to get those numbers, maybe have to go home for a day, but to get their numbers up because the rates are up. I think they're going to maybe take a week or so. I think we're going to see a drop in capacity that way.
Sorry, I thought I was muted. You're right. I think you're right that it's still going to hit.
Yeah. I think it's be different this year.
It's going to be like extended during that time? You think it'll just be over the Christmas week? Because I don't know about you guys. I mean, the week of Christmas is a couple of days really, really hot and heavy. And then it's over, and then for me, I'm sure for you too, TJ, like the 31st is just batshit.
Yeah. Yeah. Black Friday, same thing. You're picking loads up. You get paid to pick them up on Thursday and deliver on Monday. So you're getting that extra pay anyways, plus a holiday. So they'll pick them up, go home. But and I'm just speaking from an owner operator standpoint, from my experiences, a lot of them would come into the holiday season and say, hey, I got to be home this day. And I want to do Christmas this day. And it's just a day. I mean, they're I'll be ready after that, run me through the house, whatever it is. And then I'll get back out. I see it already kind of starting. And I think once the holidays hit, they're going to be taking 4 or 5 days at home just to recoup. I mean, these guys, a lot of my owner apps right now, they're just pushing hard, and I have to find a good balance. It's tough, but because my customers are hurting and they're calling and they got a lot of freight, and I'm trying to help them out, and my drivers are helping me out that way. But I'm starting to communicate with them with, hey, it may come up here where we've got a couple guys that may take a break and you may see a little bit of a dip, but I'll communicate with you guys on that. So.
Well, and this year Christmas is on a Friday, so I don't know what that will do. People are going to want to pick up on Wednesday and then hold until Monday.
It may help.
It may.
Because like I said, with Thanksgiving, they would pick up on a Thursday. They couldn't deliver till Monday anyway. So why not run through the house for Thanksgiving? They may do the same thing and not take a whole week. So that may actually help the situation. I didn't think about that. As a koala, I'm not the smartest animal in the world. I move fairly slow.
You'll either find someone wanting to go home and you'll get a good rate, or you'll find someone that's going to take advantage of the extended holiday, and it's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know in my world, it's very rare to be able to find someone that's going to hold any type of refrigerated product for any longer than they have to, just for the liability.
I will tell you, God dang, being on the asset side and then going to brokerage helps me so much, and then vice versa. So I will say, if you're a broker, try to get that out of them. If you hear a dispatcher tell you that this driver's going home, boom, you got it. All right. And I can say you take advantage of it, but kind of stick to your guns on the rate, because that guy doesn't want to give it up.
100% taking advantage of it. I mean, let's be honest.
And vice versa. I tell my dispatchers, I'm sorry, but this is how it works. Do not tell him he's going home. You know what I mean? Like, don't gouge them, but be fair with it, on the fact that as soon as you tell them and you give them that, you show your hand, they're going to take, they're going to stick to their guns, try to meet them in the middle, work with them, but don't tell them they're going home.
Hey, carrier, find me a guy who wants to go home.
Hey, I will say this though. Tell them after you've already booked the load, rate cons in and everything, because let them know where the freight's at. Just do that. I mean, that's one big thing for a broker. If you're going on a holiday weekend and you know where the freight's at, that's huge. So tell them what's going on that way, but don't do it till after you get the load. Sorry.
I remember when I worked at a previous company, we had some reefers in our fleet. So we were asset based too, as well as brokerage. And we did have some Christmas reefer freight that sat for a long time. And I remember having a lottery drawing on who the hell was going to go to the yard and fill up those reefer units fuel.
Hey, I love working holidays. Well, that was prior to my son being born. But prior to that, I mean, I worked every holiday because, obviously you either get some extra pay or some extra vacation days, but two, you're always going to have those loads or something that's going on to where you can capitalize. And, at the time I didn't have, family or wife or anything of that nature, but, I always liked working those days leading up to a holiday, the day of, and was just after it.
I do too, to a point. So since I've become a business owner, I work every holiday because I don't want my team to work every holiday. So you name it, I've had to do it. And there's been times that once you do even a cut of shifts, everybody gets in that mindset. And so I get really hesitant to cut, or go, hey, we're slow, because you just don't know. And it's happened to me so many times where I cut and then I get my ass kicked and I'm moving all this freight by myself. Now, afterwards, when you do it, it's like you helped your customer, you moved a bunch of shipments, you were so just able to multitask. It feels great. But to do it every single holiday, I wouldn't mind to take a break now. I mean, it's been 4th of July, Christmas for a couple of years now, but those tend to be the days that we do well.
I feel ya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So TJ, what is your thought process on what is really leading up to this? So, what is it? Do you think it's really the fact of COVID and places were closed? What is it that is the driving force behind this capacity being to this level and volumes being this high?
I think there's a couple things. Number one, I think there was a lot of shippers that were still producing product, and a lot of shippers were still producing product and staying open. A lot of customers, a lot of people that were receiving product, buying product, were not. So they were producing, they were working on, I talked to people about, drop trailer strategies, things like that, finding places for them to warehouse things. And once they opened up, they had to push that product. They had to get it out. Whether or not you'll see a lot of loads going to, warehousing units and stuff that are close by and DCs, and they're pushing that big right now. So I think that was one. I think the other one was, the economic stimulus package. I think a lot of people were affected, but giving that money to everybody, that range of that $1,200, it's a consumer amount. It's a couple new chairs, it's a new computer, it's a new TV, so the people that weren't as affected job wise were using that to purchase. And the other thing is the customers that were buying the product, receiving the product, got rid of a lot of their inventory when they weren't working. They either didn't have storage for it or weren't wanting to pay for that storage, not knowing when the shutdown was going to end, and got rid of a lot of inventory that was either resold, restocked, whatever it was. But then when it turned on fast. Everybody was getting a stimulus check, and all of a sudden they need product. I think that was a big thing that happened. And I will tell you this: the efficiency of the shipping has decreased dramatically. I know Kip talked about it in a show before. You can talk claims and things, but I know the efficiency just in general of the fact that a lot of these shippers had people laid off that went home, whether it was voluntary or not, and are paid more to be at home, or were paid more to be at home than work. So they didn't come back. You're hiring inexperienced people. I've just seen it. I've seen the processes in which they're loading these things, and the time it takes. The efficiency of a shipper is so key in keeping product moving and moving the way it should, and staying ahead of product that, they could stay out ahead of things, and they don't have to bring in a truck last minute and pay more. And it just is one of those things that I think affected it as well.
I got a question.
I think adding to that, I was going to add to that real quick. I think too, a month and a half ago, many states were pushing to go back to from 25 to 50 up to 75% capacity. I think there was a spike. I know Tennessee was a state that went up to 75% and then kind of drew. So I think that too, you saw more people buying, getting out there, getting back in the workplace, and then it got restricted. And then too, I think that shippers are obviously playing catch up with that, but I think that they're just trying to push out as much as they can for fear of a round two, right? So most companies are trying to stockpile, get their DCs that were emptied back to capacity before a potential round two. Again, that's just what I think, not commenting on if I think there's a round two or going down that path, but I think that they're trying to look in the future and prepare for a what if scenario as well.
But that also played a huge role. Just, you got to think the amount of truckloads that go into DCs it's huge. They were stockpiling their DCs not just because of maybe a round two, but also because of the fact that a lot of them, you look at a Target, you look at a lot of these stores were shipping a lot of product to consumers, and they were doing it right out of those DCs. So, instead of running it into a DC, loading it on a local truck and running it to a store, they were running it into the DC, staying stockpiled. Because you look at Target's, I saw an article the other day about how their online orders were, I think it was 20% of their business, 15% of their business, and it grew by like 250%.
Yeah.
Through the COVID.
And the pickup, just the pickup portion too. So,
and if you're shipping out of your DC, you got product there to ship, and whether you go with parcel, whatever it is, but still you got to have it there and be ready, available, because it's not just during store hours or having it in the store.
Got a question in the
Walmart
comments.
Just launched Walmart Plus too.
Yep.
Go ahead, Tony.
Rhonda's asking, as far as the holidays, how do you manage getting folks committed to working during the upcoming holidays? Maybe split the holidays off Thanksgiving, work Christmas, then switch next year teams. You guys have any strategies or suggestions that you use? I mean, we heard your Nicole take one for the team.
The actual day, the holiday, is always hard to get people to want to work that. But from what I've seen in the past, you do a couple of different things. You could, if you're throwing names in a hat, it's one of those team things where people are going to have to step up and take their holidays so they know they get the rest of them off. Or you can do something like, I forget what last holiday was it? We had one that was on a Saturday, or I don't know, a weird day it fell in the week. So I split my staff between who was off on Friday and who was off on Monday. And so, I mean, it sucks for both sides because you're shorthanded and they're usually busy days. but it allowed people to have that time off. I mean, those are two things, or just have your owner do it.
Yeah. Yeah. You can always, I always found success on those type of situations by asking for volunteers first, because you never know, everyone's situation. Have someone volunteer to take those shifts that no one else wants, and then you don't have to go the hard route if that's what it came to. So, kind of piggybacking on took the tough decisions out of the equation because I volunteered to work those days for my benefit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a lot of times that people especially in this lonely business, that are more than willing to work.
Or give them a bonus too. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I know for me, I've done that where if I need someone to work a weird shift, not even holidays, like Saturday, something goes sideways with someone who normally works on Saturday, I throw a $200, I don't know, just $200 to them. And I'm like, hey, thank you. I mean, it's more than you want to spend, but at the same time too, it helps the employee. They feel appreciated, and who doesn't want $200, right?
Yeah, you may see the same thing just in the logistics world. I mean, people are making enough money right now with everything that's moving that maybe they'll take the holidays off. You've been strung out, right? This is for Chris Jolly. You've been strung out. You've been a string for however long, and you go in and you start working the holiday weekend. You tie yourself up. You feel like you're all tied up, but when people look at you, they think you're not.
Oh man, this is terrible. Terrible, TJ.
Oh.
What about the hours of service change? Do we want to talk about that?
Thank you.
Is that HOS for long?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's going to play a big role. I think it's going to help. You got to think.
What is it? I don't know if everybody knows what it is.
Yeah, you get a couple different things that are added. So you got to take your 30-minute break during any 8-hour stretch of driving. But the cool part is before, when you took your 30-minute break, now you have a combination. It's just 30 minutes of not driving. That's all it is. It's not 30 minutes of anything else. It's just 30 minutes of not driving. So you can't, for that 8 hours. So you can have a combination of on duty, off duty, in that 30 minutes, as long as you're not driving. So if you stop to get fuel for 15 minutes and then go inside and buy some stuff or whatever it is, you could still count that as your 30 minutes. If you pick up at a shipper or receiver, you've got that 30-minute break, and you say you got to go to the scale. You can get on a CAT scale. It could take 30 minutes. You can count that because you're not driving. So those are big things that you can kind of add in. I think another thing that really helps is the fact that your clock, your 30-minute break also, your 8 hours of driving, it doesn't start till you start driving. So before, it used to be when you started your clock. So as soon as you started your clock, you have to take a 30-minute break within 8 hours of that. Now it's just 8 hours of actual drive time. So you could start your clock at a shipper or whatever it is and have to waste 2 hours doing whatever it is that you're doing on duty, but it doesn't start till you start driving. So you get, you may get 10 hours in before you got to take your 30. So that helps quite a bit. I'll tell you that much. I mean, you also get the 2-hour extension on top of the, extension we've got. So, it's adverse driving conditions. And so it's got to be unforeseen. It can't be something that, you can't say I know that there's traffic in Atlanta every day, so I'm going to use that as my 2-hour extension. 11 hours of driving can go to 13, and 12 of on duty can go to 14. Just from, being in traffic jam. It's Christmas time, it's peak season. You're going to have traffic jams. You're going to have bad weather. So you can extend it that way too. So I think that helps. You got to be smart.
How do you label that out? How does that show on a log? Like, what do you do?
You flag it and you write down you're claiming your 2-hour extension.
You claim it, and you got to approve it. It'll ask to approve or deny. And safety departments play a huge role. With these changes, they play a huge role. If there's something that a driver's unaware of, or maybe did something wrong, listen, safety departments are audited, right? So they have to do things correctly. So you can call into your safety department and they can fix your e-log for you. From the office, if it's valid. So that's a big thing that helps because they're experts on it, and that's a big thing too.
Aaron, real quick, answer the question. You have to take your 30-minute break after 8 hours of consecutive driving. Then you're forced to it at that point. No other time.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, and I took some notes, obviously, because the hours of service, there's a lot of people that really aren't educated, but there was 4 main points that was changing, which was the short haul exception, adverse driving conditions, the 30-minute break requirement, and a sleeper berth provision.
Sleeper berth. Yep.
What about
So that's
Brandon?
the sleeper berth provision allows drivers to split their 10-hour off-duty period in different ways: 7.3, 8.2, 7.5, 2.5, provided one off-duty period, whether in or out of the sleeper berth, is at least 2 hours long, and the other involves at least 7 converse hours spent in the sleeper berth. The periods must add up to 10 hours, and when used together, neither time period counts against the maximum 14-hour driving window.
Mm-hmm.
That's a game changer.
So
yeah,
to do
it absolutely is.
You know, an 8-2 split makes sense if you got to make the shipment time, right? I mean, if you got to do it, you got to get it done. If not, for most drivers, it's just smart to just extend that 2 hours and get your reset in. But yeah, not having to be in sleeper berth and being able to be off duty, that's a huge thing. There's things you can get done in that time and not be in your sleep. You know, you have to be up in your bunk, so it makes a big difference. The short haul is huge too. I mean, that's up. Tony, you get up to 150 miles now.
Yeah, it went from 100 air mile radius of
your
domicile location to 150, which is huge. And 12 hours went to 14.
Yep.
That's a game. That's awesome for us locally.
Oh, that's you guys. I've talked a lot with Tony. You got to think, you know, I'd talk with Tony sometimes. He'd be like, I'm 1 million pounds behind. You know, I'm 1 million pounds of product behind. And he's got guys running 10 hours a day, 11 hours a day, whatever it was. They couldn't drive anymore, you know, and when you're getting behind in production, that extra 2 hours is huge.
With 15 trucks,
is it safe though?
If they're
devil's advocate, is it safe?
Is it safe? Have you left the county?
Local.
Okay, so and devil's advocate, just to get somebody get fired up. But what does it matter whether you're local or long haul or what you're doing? At the end of the day, time is time.
Have you ever fallen asleep driving across town through town versus out on the highway?
Yep.
That's what it is. You're paying attention.
I can't agree with Brandon. You're still driving 10 hours. I mean,
the thing is it easier to go into a lull and fall asleep when you're sitting for that time? What if you're coming back to the plant, getting loaded, running, stop, getting out of the truck, going back, getting loaded again, getting out, helping to load, physical activity, endorphins are kicking.
That's what I'm talking about.
Your turn, Brandon.
No, and I don't disagree with you. However, how do you set a guideline and rules and put all these caveats on if you do much exercise or get in and out of your, I mean, you know what I mean? So just playing devil's advocate, while I think that, there were some needed change of regulations in some regard. You know, I just to play devil's advocate as we were talking about pushing out from the shipper's point, but from the carrier point, is it safe?
Did you look at the studies, the background of why they changed the hours of service rule?
Let's hear it, Tony.
Did you?
I educate us.
Okay, so
tell us.
When they first changed the rule from the old 5 on 4 off, drive forever, open logs to the 14-hour window with 11 driving hours.
Yep.
That was supposed to make the world a better place and safer, and all trucks were going to be rested, and accidents went up.
Guess what else went up? Average speed limit or average speed of a truck.
Everybody got in a hurry.
Big time.
So what they're doing, Brandon, they're relaxing the rules to let the driver be tired when the driver's tired. So we're putting the control back in the front seat again instead of in the government bureaucracy.
And the driver will tell you. They will tell you when they're done.
It's got to be preached. I preach it to my guys like, dude, you've got extra time. Just if you're tired, stop. There is no point in it. You know, like just
I agree.
You know, stop. Just stop with it. It's fine. I'll let the customer, as long as we communicate, we're fine. Now, if we're going to shut a plant down, it's going to cost us a lot of money. Run till you can't keep your eyes open. I'm kidding. I didn't. It's a joke. No,
I always just like winter weather.
But listen, be aware though. Know what loads you're taking. Talk to a driver before you take a load. If you've got something that you know is going to be that critical, talk to them. Hey, how you feeling, man? Did you get good sleep last night? Are you going to be all right? Take a look at this. Run this through your head. Look at the route. Know the hours. Are you going to be able to do this before we take this?
And this
Do not
this
put
change
yourself in
from
that
12 to
situation.
14 is just in the local exception in the 150 air miles. So all that's really doing is affecting the guy who you're talking to 2 or 3 times a day anyway. And just like the winter weather in the snow, bad road condition places like here,
Absolutely.
you can't mandate what's safe and not safe for a fleet of 10 guys. Each one of those guys has a different skill set. Each one of those guys has a different background. Each one of those different guys has a different level of experience. So I have always preached to my guys, you are in control of your safety. You're in control of determining whether it's safe for you or not. Here's what we have to get done. Those who want it will go get it.
And you got to think the local drivers that are able to drive more like that is, when you're coming back to the, especially in the winter, say you're coming back to the plant, you're getting out of the truck, you're going into Tony's office, having a coffee or a, hot chocolate or something. He's always got eclairs on his desk, don't you, Tony? It's a big Elkhart thing. But
yeah, you asked that guys must be able to do that.
You're in and out of the truck, right? You're moving just like a forklift driver. Can a forklift driver work a 12-hour shift?
Yeah.
Every day.
He's off. He's on the forklift.
Listen,
forklift.
I don't
know with 2 big old
I don't
prongs.
disagree.
What do you disagree with,
I don't
Brandon?
disagree. In fact, I said I don't disagree. I said I carry a CDL, and I was out of a truck by the time e-logs were fully implemented. So I always did paper. And depending on what was going on, we usually had a couple of those underneath the seat. Let's call a spade a spade. That's exactly what goes on. Or there was different routes taken. So I think that the changes in restrictions are good. Just wanted to play some devil's advocate.
At the end of the day, no matter what rule you put in front of anybody, if they're a cheater, they're a cheater. They will find a way. I have talked to many drivers that know how to put their e-log system and crank the heat up, right? And get it so it overheats, right? And then they go to paper. I know how to get guys to be able to know how to short it out. I know how to, I'm sorry, I said I know how to get guys to do it. I don't know how to get, I've talked to guys who know how to do it. I apologize.
You consult on the side?
No, and I'm serious. And I've talked to guys that know how to do it. And, my first thing is why? Like, why? Why is it, why does it matter when you're going across on a long haul, going across country through New Mexico, and you think that you put it on, because you want to get the shipment off by and get it on this paycheck, and that's bullshit. And I excuse my language, but it is, and I'll say it every single time because that is not okay. You don't do that stuff. And if I catch it, if anybody in my company catch it, you're gone. It's done. And we don't have any tolerance for it because at the end of our day, our CSA scores matter way more than some driver that's going to be an idiot and cheat. It's not going to happen, and it shouldn't happen. And so if you ever hear of anybody like that, make sure you let them, and any drivers out there too. It's not funny. It's not something that's cool. You shouldn't be doing it, but people are going to do it.
When I drove, it was everybody used to always ask if the scale was open. And I always got on the radio. I'm like, why do you care if the scale's open? If you're going to run 1,000 pounds over, you're an idiot.
I also think it's
right.
A time, though. That's a pain in the ass.
I think
it's illegal. I've had a guy tell me, I know what I got loaded with this much. I said, that's illegal. He said, I know what route to take to avoid the scales. I said, no, that's bullshit. You're going back and tell him to take it off. It's not, this isn't just a game. If a dispatcher tells a guy to run and he gets in an accident, kill somebody, there's been dispatchers that have been put in jail for it. I mean, no matter what you do or say, you're held liable.
You don't make enough money to run illegally.
No.
Well, I like earlier, you are in control of your own safety, right? And making, an informed decision on what's best for you. But I think a lot of the hours of service, the logbooks and the scales, kind of piggybacks on the law days of the trucker, right? Those guys weren't avoiding the scales because they were overweight or because, their logbooks were accurate. They were avoiding the scales because half of them didn't even have a CDL. They literally outlawed and got, I'm serious. I mean, Tony. So I think a lot of that, and this was as soon as the 80s and early 90s. And I'm sure there still are outlaws. It's probably very hard to find, but these guys, get a couple DWIs or something happens to where, they can't even get a license. So they will literally, drive around the scales to avoid any of that. So it's not always about the hours of service. It's not always about the weight. Sometimes there's another factor in it. And I think that kind of translates down from generation to generation.
Well, it's that generation went through the transition too. I mean, if you look at what trucking used to be, I collect cab overs. I want to own one day, and I'm going to put a camper on the back of it. Tony hooked me up. But I love cab overs. Just the flat nose looks pretty cool. So I collect them, like old vintage ones. And when you collect those and you collect older trucks, you're getting trailers that say Keeblers, Pine Sol, Welch's. Their company trucks were huge. That's what it was. I mean, like that manufacturer, that plant had its own trucks, and they didn't do the whole DC thing. They were running right to the customer. And when you had that shift in increase in all that, it changed. You took these guys that were local. I mean, they ran company trucks to this over the road type driving. So there wasn't a lot of people to tell them how to do it and what to do. And the people that were doing it were wild west. And so there was that transition from that. I mean, you don't see, trailers with, used to see, remember Fruit Stripe gum? Those are my favorite trailers. Google Fruit Stripe gum trailers. They had their own. They literally had the colored zebra stripes, the whole trailer.
Yeah, that was a zebra one.
Yeah.
You chew it twice and it has no flavor, so you got to put the whole pack of gum in your mouth. Loved it.
But do you see those anymore? You don't. But that's what I'm saying. That was that transition. Sorry, go ahead.
So I have a question on the hours of service concept. How often can I utilize that adverse condition?
Once a week.
Does that work? So say I'm a broker and the driver, I mean, obviously I can see what's going on with the tracking and how the e-logs are now, visible to a certain extent. But how often would I be able to get that sort of concept from a driver telling me, well, I'm still it's been crazy. I still have 2 more hours. How does that communication work? And how often do carriers have that opportunity to do that? Is it every day?
It's a tool. I think it's something you keep in your tool belt. I don't think it's something you use right away. I mean, it's a card you want to have.
It's once every 34-hour reset.
It's 34 every 34 hours, but it's also weeks worth of duty. But it's also something that you don't want to use on something you shouldn't. Number one, I tell you right now, cops are smart, man, and these guys know what they're doing. I mean, they know how to put you on the spot. They know how to ask certain questions, and you can't BS them a lot of times. So you could try to make something up, but if you try to say that you're using your 2-hour extension because there was traffic in Atlanta, they're going to cite you, man. I mean, there's always traffic in Atlanta. It's got to be unforeseen. And so, if you're going through Wyoming or, Colorado and there's snow and it slows you down, there's always snow in Colorado at certain times of the year. If you're going through Wyoming, it's June, that's different. Maybe that's something you didn't expect, but you gotta validate it too. It can't just be something you throw out. It's got to be unforeseen.
Yeah. And it's going to be up to the officer to make that decision.
Yep.
So
yeah. And you don't want to leave it up to that.
And if you got one last week and the week before and the week before that, you're probably going to get a ticket.
Yeah.
Listen, crappy carriers, you could go ahead and tell the broker that there was an accident on I-74 and I Google it and there wasn't. But if you tell and then you get away with it. But if you tell a police officer that there was an accident and there wasn't, it's not going to work. It's not even worth it.
Is that it? Are we out of topics? Did we cover them?
Well,
Whatever topics, Tony.
I was hoping that we would hear some stuff from the audience, but we only had Rhonda, which she's awesome. So
keep it up, Rhonda.
Her there.
Keep it up, Rhonda.
Yes, Rhonda's awesome.
Hey, back to Fruit Stripe gum. Brandon, you're right. You can go through a whole pack in like 3 minutes. No, but
what's the
but no, I think one big thing that you got to look at, I think at the end of the day, we got to just make sure that we're conscious of drivers, that they're on the road, that they're humans, that they're, just like anybody else. And you're going to get caught up in things. It's just part of it. You got to be careful because you could just say the wrong thing. I mean, you can't, especially as a broker, you got to understand if as a broker, you don't feel, you shouldn't be involved in any of that. Like you shouldn't say anything to if they tell you what they're doing, then that's what it is. You should never, ever tell them that they should do this or do that ever. And so, it's a big thing that companies right now, we're going to see who takes safety seriously and who doesn't. and it's got to be something that you do take seriously. Listen, you put the safety in the driver's hands for the responsible ones, but you still gotta guide these guys, because their safety affects our scores, which affects our customers and our insurance rates and everything else. So you got to have those layers of knowledge and people being responsible and talking to these guys. And that's the biggest thing. Talk to these guys, get on the phone with them. If they're working hard, talk to them about things, they'll just let them vent. Listen, drivers complain, right? It's part of it. I tell my drivers all the time, I know that you're going to call them bitch. That's what you're going to do. It's okay. Let out. The best drivers there are call and complain after they've already solved the problem, though. You can call me all you want, say, did you get unloaded? Yeah, I got unloaded, but son of a bitch, I got there. The gate wasn't there, and the lady was rude as hell, and I just walked off, flipped her, whatever it is. They couldn't get the pallets off, but I helped them. That's fine, complain. But it's the guys that call ahead of time and complain all the time that you might, aren't the best drivers. But they're going to complain. Let them complain. Let them get it out. Because if not, there's two other options. You either listen to them, or they take it off. They take it out on one of the shippers. They're delivering to a Menards. They got a 17-year-old kid there unloading their truck. All he wants to do is leave and go skateboard or something, and it pisses him off. And then they're going to take it off on that. Then now your customer's mad, right? So let them talk, let them vent, let them get it out, because it's going to be right now the freight is up and they're pushing hard. So, and I will tell you this, in anything in life, I've even found this, and they always say more money, more problems. But when you start making money, when you're out on the road, there's things that you wanted to take care of. There's things that your wife at home wants to take care of. And now you've got that on your mind. Where do I allocate this? Do I pay this down? Do I pay that down? Do we buy this? Do we do this? So there's just a lot more to the mental side of it, rather than let's just grind out, make as much as I can, then sit down and do it. It's just be aware of it.
Awesome. Big fan, Julius.
Who?
Orange and Caesar. I like both Julius's.
Oh, Jules? Yeah, he's knowledgeable. Nicole, what's the expedites looking like? Talk to me.
I was telling the group before, I don't know how your last day of the quarter was, but ours was like crazy the week before, and then went. That actual last day of the quarter was, I couldn't believe it. It was lame. I was waiting. I'm like sitting there. I'm like, come on, guys, we're so close. But no, I mean, we've been rocking and rolling. It's looking good for us. I mean, our commodities are changing. We're adding customers. So it's hard to say. We're a smaller company. We're a party of 14 people. So all you do is add one customer to the database, and it really changes your business. So we've been doing very well.
I know our expedite teams, we're very automotive based, almost all automotive based expedites, and it's unbelievable. They're doing numbers in a day that our brokerage in general would do in a couple days or a week. It's blown up. It's crazy. We're adding people to work second shift, teaching some people that were good in track and trace to bid at night. Really bringing in and really pushing the track and trace team. But God, the expedites are just blowing up. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we've been on an increase. We've had record months every month for the past 3. So I can't complain. We added some people to our team, and I'm trying to add even more. We got additional people to just work all weekends now. So now we're just staffed for that. It used to be someone was working the shift. So we're able to make these changes. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep adding to this team. And yeah, we're going crazy, but it's good. So it's like so funny. I don't know if anyone was part of this yesterday and today, but the Outlook, Microsoft 365 Exchange, giant world of Microsoft crashed. So emails were terrible. And it just shows me and really everybody how much we rely on that communication to reach out to people. And when it's down, it was just terrible. Everyone was so crabby. I felt so bad. They were like busting their ass yesterday, and I'm in like a CFO meeting, and Outlook's not working. I've seen all these Slacks and everything because we're just crazy busy.
So pick up the
any
phone.
sort of option is just terrible. You can't do anything about it, but it's just terrible.
I had to teach the young people. So I had to go get I have like a feather duster. I found it at the old office. I don't know why, but it's great because, you just get you don't have to use the air duster. So I had to go over to the younger kids in the office, and I had to use it on their phone. and get all the buttons and everything, all the, and blow it off and show them that this is a receiver. You hold it to your ear and then you press the buttons and that's how you can communicate with people.
They're like, huh?
Yeah. And then you can hear their voice and use your personality to get things too. So that was a big step for some of them. And so, but yeah, the email was, we saw a little bit of it too. It's funny how people just, I don't know, you remember those old movies where like, the technology goes out, everybody's just like, what do we do? And they all run around in circles. It's almost like that sometimes.
Did you tell them to smile and dial?
I didn't. I taught them to dial. But they know how to, they knew how, at the beginning of a conversation, you say, hello and introduce yourself. And at the end you say goodbye. So we got all the basics down and it worked really well.
It's just quoting. That's the part, because that's what our job is. I mean, we don't have any contract freight. So when we get into work every day, it's you build your day every single day. Wow. So it's not so much picking up the phone, talking to drivers, because we do that all the time. Mm-hmm. It's more of the quote, mm-hmm. and then obtaining some of the quotes from some of the carriers when it's a weird lane. You're throwing it out. We just built an app.
Yep.
So it's hard, specific way that they want it. I am looking for the person. I'm challenging everybody to make the person that can tie all of these platforms that we have for quoting and this customer's portal and this customer's this and this and just, can you guys imagine what would happen to our world if we could pull that off?
How many people do you have to cut?
We could come up with it, Nicole. I think we're real smart. I think we come up with it, and Brandon's good at technology, and Tony's good with RVs and stuff. So I think if we come up with the background and the blueprint for it, me in marketing, we could call it the knot, right? We could take all the strings and tie them together and call it the knot. Just call it the knot, literally.
Yeah.
How about we not?
Let's go for it.
I'll get that started.
Yeah, sounds good.
Great show, guys.
Good job. Tony was at home. He wasn't in the Mitsubishi this time.
There's no car.
We had Brandon's in the warehouse, actually. That's not even his pole barn.
Is that a Massey Ferguson?
Excuse me?
What's that?
Is that a Massey Ferguson right there behind you?
No, that's a 2-horse. That's a 1972 2-horse straight load.
International?
Close.
Last thing, Brandon, I want to remember this fun fact from when you and I were both on Cassandra Gaines. Do you have 63 animals? Or 36?
Not anymore. No, it was around 36, but that's when we had a bunch of the babies.
It was around 36? I was flip-flopped it. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was around 36. Around that time, that's when I had all my little baby goatees, but we sold all the babies, and you know what? I think next week I'll come back with a hard number on what that number is, because I don't know the number that we've sold, and we just had some baby chickens hatch. So we got little baby chickies running around. So I'll have to get a good number on that one for you.
All right.
So you're out of eggs?
No, we got plenty of eggs. I'll send some your way.
Which one did you get first?
What's that?
Which one did you get first?
I get it, Tony. Hey, Brandon, do you grow eucalyptus on your farm?
You come and see me, TJ. I got eucalyptus for you.
All right. Well, I got a Sprinter van on its way now, 30 miles out, empty pallet jack.
Guys,
all right,
great show. Great show.
All right.
Good job.
Talk to you guys later.
Fun
talking. You guys next
Welcome
week.
back, Brandon. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
I love you.
I
Good job.
appreciate it.
We'll see you guys.
Bye, Brandon. Bye, Tony. Bye, Nicole.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.